Now, hi everybody. This is Dave Emmons and The Strange Reality. Thanks for dropping by and being with us. I got a big show tonight, and as you can see, I got four guests tonight, and it's jam packed, and it sounds good. I've read some of the things that they do, and they're going to explain it to you. So actually, I'm going to be turning over some of my co-hosting duties over to my buddies, Mark and Rob, since they know Professor Dave and Dalia, the other two guests, and they'll be introducing them, and I will introduce uh, Mark and Rob, and we'll see how this all goes. Let me see. I'm looking at the five. Got everybody in there, all five on the video, so we're fine. And I'm glad that we're all together from different time zones. We talked about that, the split of the
Mhm.
time zones: Eastern time, Central time, Mountain time, and then what another dimensional time somewhere. So yeah, I wish there was somebody from the next dimensional time that could tell us a little bit about what's really going on in this world. Okay, I'm going to start here with here on the Strange Reality. I want to start with Rob Freeman, UFO world explorer. Rob Freeman was just 12 years old when he saw the unexplainable from the roof of his parents' house with a self-made sky watching kit. I'd like to see that kit. I probably would have had one when I was a kid. I didn't have that. Almost 60 years later, he's an active in the field and researcher and ufologist, having now traveled to over 21 countries and 100 plus cities with an advanced sky watching kit. His mission is to a grown-up kit, I guess you could say. His mission is to research and explore and discover the mysteries of the universe and their connections to the human mind. To this end, Rob has also learned to see blindfolded. That's something I think Dahlia, the other guest here, is talking about too. Well, you're all talking about that. And he founded the VWE, Vision Without Eyes, in 2017, with the hope of using this ability to make contact with extraterrestrial entities and non-human intelligence. About Mark McNabb. Oh, okay. Here we go. We're gonna really gonna really intro you, Mark, on this one.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Oh, these two guys have been with me, but this is the fourth time on my shows in the last 3 years, so we know each other pretty well, and we look forward to getting together and talking. They're always traveling. They always got the wind in it somehow. They're going somewhere. They're all over the world, but they find out quite a bit of stuff and interesting investigations about Mark McNabb. Mark McNabb created Skylight Films in the 1991 following his graduation from the University of Western Ontario with a diverse collection of film projects ranging from drama to family adventure to documentary reality. Skylight Films has positioned itself to redefine the role of producer within the Canadian film video industry. And both of them together, researchers, adventures, and then films and production and things of that nature. That's why they do so well. Rob, Mark, would you want to introduce the other two guests that we have here on the panel?
Oh,
You go
sure.
ahead first there, Mark.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no, thanks, Rob. I'll introduce Professor Dave Palachik right over there in the corner. We had the privilege and the honor of meeting Dave very early on when we started all of this. I think it would have been around 2016 or 17, and
Well,
I had the again the privilege of having him look at our material. Dave was the lead investigator and the director for MUFON Canada. I hope I said that right, Dave.
right.
And he actually did a lot of early analysis on, like, for example, the Squamish Orb out in British Columbia, and different. We bring everything to Dave. He's the most intelligent guy we know, and and probably just total, just most intelligent guy total. And we're just excited to work with him. He's also now leading CSSAA, the Center for the Scientific Study of Atmospheric Anomalies, and very good friends, just an incredible supporter. We love the man, and excited to be with him at Mount Shasta.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's funny, Mark. I got to say something quick. This friendship has lasted, yes, you're right, 2016 at the Alien Cosmic Expo when you guys decided to come in and show your weapons of mass detection. But ours started funny because you walked up to me and shoved a camera in my face and said,
I
"I want to
did.
interview you." And I went, "Oh my God." And it was all about is MUFON under government control. Do you remember?
I remember.
And since that, we've done quite a few shots together, even doing 100 miles an hour down a highway with my convertible top and my
I know.
Mustang, and him shoving a camera in my face again.
It's my favorite shot, man. It's super cool.
Oh yes, thank you for the intro.
You're
So,
welcome.
so Canada was government controlled MUFON? I didn't know that.
No,
Oh.
he threw these tough questions at me just to get me to start talking because
Oh, I see.
it's that. No, it's not. But yeah, I was the national chief investigator at that time, and went on to become the national director of all MUFON Canada for 4 years.
Oh.
And then I passed that on a couple of years ago for health reasons mainly, but I'm still actively involved in it, and of course I still am Rob's debunker to check all the videos to see if they're for real or if they're man-made. And yeah, I have studied probably 3,000-4,000 cases over the last 10 years or more.
Hmm.
Or more. No, I probably double that, triple that, and of which I've been part of with our field investigators and Rob and Mark, and announcing that this is a real UAP, UFO, an unknown, and I've seen a lot of them, and I've seen a lot of evidence with Mark and Rob when I've been out. So
Wow, that's impressive because I like somebody who's technically involved and also research and involved because I have no
Yeah.
technical skills. I think Rob and Mark know that. I can't even edit a film, so I'm lost. But but
neither can I.
yeah, we both have beards, so don't call me professor. I'm not qualified.
It's the Dave thing. Well,
Yeah.
guys, you notice I got a haircut. I don't have the long
Yeah.
professor hair
Same,
anymore.
man.
I went and got it buzzed.
Oh.
The last time we were on, I had super long hair.
Yeah.
I have a degree in a senior electrical electronic engineering technology,
Mhm.
and that's why Rob and I are developing a lot of things. But it's not just that. I have taught professionally at a college, a community college. That's where I got my professorship. And I only started actually using that title off campus this year when I wrote a book with my best friend and business partner, Chad Wanless, and we wrote a book. And it's exposing what the government refuses in the U.S. to expose, and we exposed the propulsion of the UAPs.
Is that
So,
plasma energy?
no, it's warp drive. They're using warp drive, warp technology. They're hundreds of thousands of years in advance. And Dr. Miguel Alcubera, I always say that wrong, wrote about this in 1990s, mid 90s, and it's slowly being proven that we can obtain warp drive if we have enough power. And Dr. White actually produced the very first micro warp bubble, and it was successful.
Wow.
And and in the book we talk about Bob Lazar's what he used to call the sport model of the UFO, and he called them gravity emitters, but it matches all the science, all the math that we put into this book. And we've dedicated the book now to CISA, to the CSSAA,
Mhm.
and in order to get more awareness. And we're basically that's my part, and we're going to talk about some other things, right, Rob?
Yeah, you guys,
Absolutely.
you got a whole program here set just about, and I want to turn you guys loose, but I wanted to bring this up to you, Professor Dave, and I think I talked to Mark about this. There's an organization called CMIX, CEIMIX, and it's Dr. Federico Vadel out of Mexico City. Have you guys ever heard of that organization?
Never.
Never. Well, I'll be working for them starting in October, and they're
How do you
going.
say it? CI.
It's CEIMIX, and it's Dr. Federico Vidal, Vidal.
I'll be looking that one up. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be working for him in October. Actually, be teaching classes on UAPs, and so I've seen 6 up close, and I've met 3 ETs up close. So I wrote a couple of books about it. So I got some experience with these ETs, and they still mess with me today. They mess with my cars, both cars. So it's crazy. One car is enough, but they mess with both of them. That's weird. And the dealership can't find anything wrong with them. So I'm just electronically, I guess, mess with. Rob and Mark, go ahead and lead the way on this about. I guess you're going to be talking about this about the vision without eyes and Dalia. We got to get Dalia in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'll go ahead and introduce Dalia Burgoin. And I met Dalia about a year and a half ago. I was doing free 1 hour sessions online, teaching people to see blindfolded. There's two levels, the intuitive level and the seeing in real time level. There may be more levels actually. And I was offering these as a way of introducing people to it. And Dahlia opened right up and it was at the intuitive level. Now, I think she was doing a little bit of this before, but in our 1 hour session, she did fantastic. And she wanted to come to our seminar that we were putting on a couple months later. And that was great. And Dahlia opened up, I think it was the second day in real-time mindsight. And we're quite excited about that. And you'll see a video on the Vision Without Eyes YouTube channel where it's at a seminar and Dahlia is the first one talking and she lifts her mask up. She shows patches and everything we're showing her she's getting. So she's quite famous for that video. Dahlia was recently at Contact in the Desert and she was demonstrating blindfold seeing without eyes. She was also involved with telepathy. Dahlia has a autistic daughter, and they communicate a little bit telepathically, and maybe Dahlia can get into that later on. So Dahlia is quite involved with a lot of the different psi abilities. Dahlia and myself and a few others from Vision Without Eyes are going to be at the Psi Games that start August 1st in Charlottesville, Virginia. And we've got a team put together. Dahlia is going to be on that team as well, demonstrating mindsight and so on. So Dahlia has now come to a second seminar, and Dahlia has been helping out at the seminar, helping to train, demonstrating, showing the folks that it can be done. So that's Dahlia.
Dalia, you got any words to say about all these men surrounding you here on the program?
He's always
Yeah,
quiet.
well, what I found interesting is I do come from more of a consciousness background and psi abilities. I practiced a lot of psi abilities before I met Rob, but that was the one thing I hadn't actually tried was to see without my eyes. I had gotten really good at walking around in the dark and being able to see in the dark, but I had not ever been able to see through the blindfold and see colors and be able to read. And on that video call with Rob, that was my first time seeing anything. It was my mind's eye, I was seeing it. So I was seeing, and I thought it was incredible. And then when I went to the seminar on the second day, that's when I was able to finally see through the blindfold and be able to see detailed and shapes and read and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And well, what I found fascinating is I was very surprised at how much UAPs came up in these seminars. They kept coming up and these stories kept coming up and I had no background in it at all. And and like he said, my daughter is very telepathic. And I remember thinking, why did these keep coming up? The UAPs keep coming up in these seminars. What's the correlation? And my daughter did validate because she actually can communicate with things that are telepathic, other entities. And so she validated that these entities were out there for me. And yeah, and so it's become it's interesting that I'm learning all of this new stuff. And it's interesting that I'm going to be at Shasta and I'm very excited mostly to feel the energy of Shasta, but I already know something major is going to happen. And so I'm really excited to experience it. There's no doubt in my mind something major is going to happen while we're there.
Yeah. So I think I've heard of the other group, CE5 group, Dr. Career and them go there. And every time they go there, there's always something that goes on. And I guess everybody that goes there, like you said, Dalia, do you do remote viewing?
I haven't actually done it or taken a real course on remote viewing, but I have played with it. And every time I did play with it, I did pretty well. So I'm not in it yet. But we call when we have the blindfold on and we're seeing around, we call that local remote viewing. So it's a kind of like remote viewing, but in a local way.
Oh, okay. Rob or Mark, you want to start off with this program that you guys are into, the Vision Without Eyes?
Sure. So, you know, at this event, we're going to combine the two things. We've been traveling around the world for the last 10 years. I've been teaching the mindsight for the last 7.5 years. And when I first started doing the mindsight, the idea was, I wonder if this will help me see things that you can't see with your eyes. And it turns out it will help you. So we're putting these two things together, you know, this lifelong interest in ETs, UFOs, UAPs, and this teaching of the mindset. We're also adding in telekinesis.
Mm.
We have recently found out in the last couple of seminars that when you add telekinesis into the seminar, the folks open to the seeing in real time mindset level faster. So we're going to be teaching telekinesis, and I've been able to spin the foil around already myself doing that. And we're going to teach the mindset, and then we're going to be out. And of course, Dave and Mark, even myself, you know, after the classes are over in the late afternoon, we're going to be doing presentations around ETs and, you know, UAPs and so on. We're going to be doing talks. Mark's got, you know, all our professional video from around the world for the last 10 years, and he's got lots of stuff to show around that, interviews and so on. Dave's got cases that, you know, are unique cases that people haven't seen. I think he's got video and photos around that. And also Dave's going to do a presentation around the dog whistle, so-called dog whistle. Now, a lot of people have heard about Jake Barber and his Skywatcher group. They have a lot of money behind them. They've got expertise from the military, all these contracts they've had, and they use what they call a dog whistle. And Dave has built one, and we're bringing it to Mount Shasta. We've already tried it out. It emits sounds and frequencies and so on. And you know, the Skywatcher group, Jake Barber and the Skywatcher group claim 100% success with this so-called dog whistle. You know, maybe it should be called an ET whistle, but we're calling it E-tunes, you know, something like that. But we'll have that at Shasta. So we'll learn the telekinesis, we'll learn the mindset, we'll do the presentations, and then in the evening, we'll go out and skywatch. We'll be up on Mount Shasta at various locations where there has been ET contact. There's been many craft scenes. You know, we'll be at the different levels. We'll be in different known places on Mount Shasta. We'll be in various other places around the area as well. So we're not going back to the same place all the time. We'll be going to new places. And the idea is I'll be bringing all my equipment. We call it the WMD, Weapon of Mass Detection. And Mark calls it the weapon of mass, or I call it the weapon of mass debunction. He says that's not a real word, but you know, we you know, capture everything in that, like with the thermal, with the visible, with the infrared, with the full spectrum, the ultraviolet, the time lapse, all this stuff. And then of course we hand the footage over to Dave to debunk. So, you know, a lot of the footage will wind up on the floor, but you know, hidden in that footage are usually nuggets of really cool stuff. And we don't always see the stuff when we're filming it. Many times we've spotted it in the footage after. And so we'll be doing that out in the evenings. We've had a lot of things in previous expeditions to Shasta happen, both up in the sky and around us. And it's recorded on video as well. And the idea is we want to use our mindset. So most of the folks should open up to the full seeing the room mindset. Starts out as like looking through a tiny little window, we call it, and it will get bigger. And the idea is you can see into other spectrums. You can see outside of the visible spectrum with your mindset. So we hope to spot both seen and unseen anomalous things in the sky, i.e. ET craft.
Yeah.
And, you know, the participants will show me where they're seeing it and they will point it out, and I'll move all my equipment on the tripod to that spot, and we hope to film it. Now, once again, you know, in the visible, you may not see it, but in my other cameras, the full spectrum, the infrared, it will generally show up. And we've got lots of footage on our channel where it shows some of these things like the Squamish orb. So we're quite excited about this event, Dave.
Yeah, I think since I'm not live here and a lot of people make comments after, you know, when it's posted on the platforms, I know they're going to ask this question, and I had this question too. You guys say that you teach this vision without eyes, and also you teach telekinesis. Are you saying that everybody has the ability? They just need to be taught?
Yeah, we're all born with this. Everybody's born with these abilities. And, we've been suppressed, really. For example, the ability to see blindfolded, many children will operate this spontaneously when they're young. And you may yourself, when you were between 2 and 3, Dave, you may have gone out to the kitchen with your hands over your eyes and says, "Hey, mom, I can see you through my hands." And your mom would say, "Oh, Dave, sweetheart, that's not real.
Yeah.
That's just make believe."
Then
And
she'd
of
smack.
course, the kids get shut down. But, many kids will operate this spontaneously,
Yeah.
and they really should be given support, not ridicule or gently shutting them down, because everybody can do this. So we will facilitate the folks to allow this ability to come wandering out. They already have it. It's not like we have to train you to do something you've never done before. You already have it. You probably did use it when you were a kid. So we're just
Mhm.
going back there and allowing it to come out. Same with the telekinesis. Everybody has that ability. I have a fellow, Alex Steffen, who is a hypnotherapist. He will be facilitating both the telekinesis and, getting us relaxed to be receptive to connecting to that right brain of ours where both the telekinesis and the mind side exists.
Yeah. You mentioned something about a lot of the films that you guys take ends up on the cutting floor. Professor Dave, how much of a percentage of actual films comes to you that you debunk, and how much are real? On the internet, there's all kinds of disinformation and all
Oh
kinds
yeah.
of AI videos and pictures, and we're getting to the point where we don't know what is real. And Professor Dave, how much is debunked that you see?
Well, when it comes to all the cases that go through MUFON, we were averaging before 2019 about 5% were real cases. Over the past years, that especially with COVID lockdown, we got more credible cases. That rose up to 8%. But right now, I'd say with Mark and Rob, and when I'm out and look at some of the stuff, we're hitting 12%.
Mm,
And that's a realistic number. That is an incredible number. If you used to shoot 1,000 and you hit 12%, that's a high number. Considering that in Canada alone, because we're up in Canada, less than 10% of the population who see a UFO report it. And
yeah.
these are known facts. So of that, in those cases that I was in working with my field investigators as and that is either the chief investigator or the national director, we were hitting that 8 to 10%, and that's 8%, 10% of 10, only 10% of the population.
Mhm.
So we know there's a lot more going on, and I have a lot of other information, which hopefully I'll be sharing at Mount Shasta. That's coming from other sources, and that number probably can rise to about 15 to 20% with proper with Rob's 12-year-old Sky Kit. If you go out with the proper equipment and you set your mind to doing things in a scientific way, we could raise that number quite higher,
Yeah.
you know. But anyways, yeah, the cutting room floor is as Rob calls me, the debunker. It's always my pleasure to look at all these things. Either I'm with him on some of but the ones I'm not, he still sends stuff to me, and I've had some pretty good aha moments. And I got to remind Rob, when we went to the Mojave Desert at Joshua Tree, it was like 3 or 4 years, no, 5 years later, that I happened to pull out a video that I had done time lapse. And I thought, I want to look for satellites. And what did I find, Rob? I found a UFO
Mhm. Yeah, and that happens
that
quite
took
often,
off, did a
Dave.
90-degree turn, and then a
Yeah,
zigzag.
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah,
after.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And it
especially
was
in the
like,
time lapse.
yeah,
Uh,
Yeah.
it was amazing. And I'm a forensic investigator. That's part what you become as a MUFON field investigator.
right.
So, and of course, I have all the software that I developed and use to help debunk. I hate using that word, Rob, but to prove the unknowns.
I do that myself. If I get films or infrared films on my trail cam inside my house, I get some orbs, I get things of that nature. I just debunked my camera moving, and I thought the camera was moving on its own, but it wasn't. It was actually the printer that was moving a little bit my wife was using it, and it shook up. So I debunked myself, and I'm not afraid to say it, you know. And Mark, you do a lot of the filming, right?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
when you see something and you're filming it, do you say, "I got it," or sometimes you're really sure that what you got?
Yeah, I would say honestly, Dave, like the thing that excites Rob and I the most is we just seem to have an understanding of this is exactly where we're supposed to be. You know, like over the last few years, and I'll just say this quickly, and I'll answer your question as well, is um, when we went to Squamish, we knew that we weren't in the right place and we got to the right place. We all knew it. It was all very intuitive and we just knew. And even when we went to France, it would have been 2 summers ago, we went to a place called Bugarash. And Bugarash, again, short story, but Bugarash is known as the spot where Steven Spielberg first went when he was putting the concept together for Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because there's a mountain in Bugarash that they call the UFO Garage. And he went there, and the villagers were kind, but they all said, "We don't want you here because they'll go away.
Oh,
They'll leave. So please,
huh.
please don't come here." But Rob and I went there after an 11-hour, I think it was like 11 hours of jet lag and flights that didn't come in at the right time, Rob's equipment being misdirected for what, 4 or 5 days, I think, Rob, like half the trip or maybe the whole trip. He didn't have his technology, but we decided on one night, the first night, with everything going wrong, that we would drive up to that mountain, and we went to that mountain, and I'll never forget the moment that we said, "Well, where do we stop?" And Rob said, "Right here." And I said, "Oh, okay." He's like, "I feel it. It's right here. We got to stop." And
Mhm.
we stopped, got out. Within 12 minutes, they put on a 2 hour light show that we will never forget. And it was 2 straight hours, Dave. 2 straight hours of lights in the sky like a projector that was like putting these images in front of us, moving in and around the mountain. And we're thinking, where's the airport? We're thinking like Dave. We're thinking like Professor Dave. We're thinking, well, where's the airport?
Yeah.
Where are the lights coming from? It's like, there's no airport. There's nothing here. And we just watched it go for 2 hours. And I get excited about this story
Yeah.
because it brings me back to something Adalia said earlier about knowing something's going to happen at Mount Shasta. Because there was just this moment where even Rob said at the very end, it's like, how long do we stay? Like, how long do we stay? And it was amazing because Rob's like, no, we'll just until they leave, like let's just stay until they leave. And I said, oh yeah, that sounds great. Within 30 seconds of saying that, within 30 seconds, gone. Everything, every single thing around that mountain stopped. Not a single light appeared again. And it was like, and that happened in Argentina too, with the footage that we sent to Dave to put into his book. It was like a moment where you're like, you're in the right place at the right time with the right people. So this is why I come back to what Dalia said. Will we have an event at Mount Shasta? 100%. Like for me, I just say it's 100% because you have the trifecta of the sensitivities of someone like Dalia and the people that are going to come, that they have an understanding of consciousness and frequency and
Bingo.
vibration and energy. And you're going to Mount Shasta, which is like the epicenter of where everybody goes for experiences, like all the big ones,
Mhm.
Sixto Paz Wells, Ricardo Gonzalez, all these people from around the world go to Mount Shasta. So we couple that with Mindsight, with our UFO background, with Dave's intelligence saying, okay, let's make sure that we're getting the data. To me, it's the ultimate event.
Yeah.
I just really feel that.
Now you said the right thing with the right people there.
Yeah.
I talk to my audience quite a bit about, and Professor Dave might know this too, and all these probably know about this, that consciousness and awareness, and then having an open mind. I
Yeah.
think these ETs can pick it up,
I
and they'll
know.
come to you, and your pineal gland has something to do with it too. I throw that kind of question out to all of you. So, like Dalia, you have a lot of consciousness and an open mind, right? I guess you can take in all these things. Have you
Yeah.
seen UFOs up close or UAPs?
I haven't myself because I haven't paid attention to it. But my daughter communicates with them. Like it's very easy for her to hear them. And so she's told me about them. But I wanted to go back to the having the right people there and us calling them in because when we do telekinesis, Alex, who's the one that trains us in the telekinesis, he literally will give us a task that is impossible, but tell us it can be done, and we will always do it. And so we've even been able to not just affect matter in front of us, but we've been able to affect digital things, electronics. And so he will even ask us to affect a compass, a digital compass, and we will be able to move the compass, move the height, everything on it. Random number generators, we can make it go to which direction we want. So all he would need to say, or all we would have to do is have an intention to say, hey, let's be a vessel, or let's call them in, and let's all put our intention to calling them in, and it'll happen. There's nothing that he had us do. Again, everything seemed impossible that we didn't do because the intention was so strong. And that's something that he focuses a lot on, that training is it's more about intention than about telekinesis. And it's very fascinating. And I'm very excited about that aspect along with the energy that Shasta has. And how we are going to be able to call them in just with the telekinesis background alone, let alone the ability that we're going to have to see it. I know when you have mind sight, you can see much more in the dark and you can see much further. We actually had a video where we were at Rob's house and he had a couple of us walking outside in the dark. And those of us who had the mask on, we didn't even know, like, we just thought there was a bunch of lights on. We just thought it was bright outside. We were, you see us on the video saying, of course we can see, it's bright. And we just kept saying that. But then when we got into his house and we looked at the video, it was super dark, not possible to see. And so we even asked, was it really that dark outside? Or is it just the video? And he says, no, it was this dark. And so it's very fascinating what you can see with when your mind sight is activated.
Right. Professor Dave, now a lot of people that you've taken these, I guess, experiences from as a MUFON investigator and also a MUFON director of Canada, were a lot of these people, they were open-minded, I guess. Do you accept them as consciousness or open-minded to have a third eye that saw these things? Or are they people who were non-believers and all of a sudden they saw something?
Well, that's very interesting you say that because 50% of the cases come from non-believers and they see it and they understand it and it's like the aha moment and they report it. And I get to interview a lot of these people. The other half, they seem to have some sort of conscious ability. And it's also the same people who are classified as experiencers. They might not have physically been taken to a ship, but their mind, their what do you call that? The body that's not your body, but anyways, your other kindred spirit might end up in that ship. Okay. And my business partner and the person who co-wrote the book with me, he is an experiencer, and he's had both. As a young child, he disappeared and he was gone for a long time. He showed back up about 5 hours later, and the whole world was looking for him.
I think you're talking
He's
about
writing a book on that too.
astral projection. Is that
Yeah,
what?
astral
Yeah.
projection. And he's also had a couple of those where he was like gone and he comes back and he's missing time, right? So he called it missing time too. And his watch is 3 hours later, and people have not been able to get hold of him. And even people in the same room said, "You were spaced out. You were gone. You weren't here. We shake you, do everything we can. What happened?" So there's quite a few things, and then of course there's the hoaxes and the skeptics, but anyways, no, the majority of the good, real classified unknowns, and we just call that if it's a UAP, it's a 50-50 split. And I'm trying to learn more about the consciousness part of it. I put Dahlia to the test last time we did a podcast. She said, well, she's never been in my place. We've never met. And she got all blindfolded up and she looked at the room first and she got a hold of me. And I grabbed things that were not in eyesight view, held them up, and she guessed them all, every single one. I'm a convincer.
Wow.
So when we were up north in Algonquin Park, Big Huge Park in Ontario, Rob decided, he goes, we were all sitting relaxed. He goes, Dave, I'm going to give you a little test. I want to see if you can see blindfolded. And I went, what are you talking about? And I knew he was doing this. So he handed me a blindfold. He went through the meditation. He talked it through, and I just finally mellowed out enough. And he started holding up these yellow and green and blue, red. I think there was 4 of them cards behind me. And it took me a long time, but all of a sudden I started seeing this little hole, and it started getting colors. And by the end of the hour that he started testing me with, I think I was at 60 or 65% right. I'm going, that's impossible. And I was getting them. Now, that's the only time I've ever done it. So I'm looking forward to learning more about this. And the other thing I had done, sorry, when I was a little bit younger, I had the opportunity to go with a Canadian native shaman, and he took me on an out of body remote viewing session. And about 3 hours later, he finally brought me back, and he goes, where were you? I said, well, I was on Mars, I was on the moon, and I was telling him things I didn't even know. And then I saw it all over the earth, like I was looking through the eyes of an eagle. He said, you were, because there was an eagle flying overhead
Wow.
the whole time in his remote little place we were in his cottage area where he does all this. And he says there was an eagle flying overhead. You were flying through that eagle. And
Did you
then
have to,
it's like incredible.
yeah, did you have to smoke any of that funny stuff that they give?
Nope, nope, no drugs, no nothing, absolutely nothing. Strict 100%
Wow.
meditation.
Wow.
I don't do that stuff. I
Yeah.
don't. I refuse to do it.
Indian shamans do that stuff a lot. Some of them.
Amazing.
No. Yeah, so yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Rob, you're putting this all together for the Mount Shasta. Now, each one of these people, I know what Professor Dave's responsibilities and duties. You're going to be there, right, Professor Dave?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm taking the dog whistle that I built
Yeah.
with
Okay.
Rob's help, and we'll be testing it.
Okay.
I actually built 2 of them.
Yeah.
We're thinking they might shut one down, but I think we're only going to take one
Okay.
the first time.
Rob, you're going to put all this together. You got Professor Dave, and you got Dalia with their responsibilities, and of course Mark. You know his responsibilities. Putting this all together, Rob, what do you plan on? How many days, and who's going to do the work, and what are you looking for? What are you looking to find out, Rob?
Sure. So we're there from the 9th to the 17th of August, checking out on the 18th. And, we've been organizing this for several months. There's other folks involved too. We have Alex Steffen, he's a hypnotherapist. We have Nikki Williams. Nikki Williams is also a demonstrator of mindsight, and she will be there along with Delia helping our participants. And so, every day we'll be doing telekinesis training, mindsight training, the presentations for the UAP stuff, have dinner, and then we go out and skywatch. And so, we also have Dave. Dave is a gourmet chef. So Dave is
Oh,
actually going to be the guy that's making our lunches.
oh wow.
Okay. And I've,
Yeah.
when we go on expeditions, we just let Dave do his thing because,
I'm not bringing the brownies.
there you go.
What?
And those are
Oh,
regular
man.
brownies. They're not special brownies.
No, they're death by chocolate brownies.
There you
Yes,
go.
I'm talking about
Nothing else in them.
There
Sorry,
you go.
Mark. I don't
Yeah.
think they'll survive the plane flight.
Well, you're going to be a valuable person, Professor Dave. My goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cooking and
Yes.
everything.
But
Yeah, so it's not rocket science. I mean, these abilities people all have. We're just getting everybody in a very safe and supportive environment. And that's the key, Dave. Because for a lot of people, they may have even dabbled in some of this stuff, and they may not want to tell anybody about it for fear of being ridiculed,
yes.
whether it's the telekinesis, the mindsight, or even the ET stuff. I mean, in my case, I had that experience when I was a kid, 2 experiences within a couple weeks. And the first one was, we've talked about this on the show. It was written up in the newspaper. So, and over 200 people had seen it. So in my case, I never had this stigma where I worried about talking about it. If people started to make fun of me, I'd say, well, it was on the paper the next day. And, everybody from the mayor to the police chief to doctors, lawyers, you know, Air Force people, they sent off 2 Air Force jets after this thing and it left them in the dust. So, I quickly put down any kind of if people try to make fun of me or make fun of this, it's like, you got to get with the program.
Yeah.
Like this has been existing around the earth probably since humans have been here. And, it's been suppressed. Governments have kind of put it into the realm of tinfoil hats and, making fun of, because they're quite involved in the background with all this stuff. As you've interviewed a lot of people, I mean, there's private organizations that are reverse engineering these captured ET craft. And so, the truth is the rest of the public have to get with the program here. And they are, through all these disclosure hearings that they're having and bringing out all the whistleblowers and credible people. People are getting educated, Dave, and they're going to realize that, the real stuff is what has been happening all these years that people have talked about, but many people don't necessarily believe them. So we're quite excited about this event.
Yeah, I got into that deeper with a lot of my audience about history is not what we think it is. It's all wrong. It's just about totally all wrong with how they taught us. The elites and the people who rule the world, they kind of control things. They control this idea about UFOs, and they're talking about, you get this disinformation. I know what Professor Dave gets this in MUFON, that they get this disinformation out there. The government does. They pass this out and they say, well, the ETs don't want they don't want disclosure just now. They don't want it. Then they say, well, the government don't want it. Well, half of the Pentagon don't want it, and the other half does. It's all kind of excuse. And now this committee that had represented the Comer and Luna, they were supposed to put this stuff out. And I know Professor Dave probably followed this, being in MUFON, that they were supposed to have a committee and put this stuff out about UAPs. Professor Dave, are you happy with what you've been hearing or seeing from these committees?
Absolutely not. And I've talked to people like Lou Alzondo, all our other UFO ufologists that I know and have talked to many times, and personally got to know. Nobody's happy. Now, it's a big show right now. The congressional hearings, the senators demanding disclosure, demanding information to come forth. And then, unfortunately, the people who are testifying, like Lou and like David Fravor, they all get this: you're only allowed to say certain things or you're going to jail. And then what's their answer? Well, I can discuss that in a skiff. So everything's behind back doors. So they're being suppressed even today. And they keep threatening they're going to have another hearing and another hearing and another hearing. I know we had one a little while ago, but that was a joke. I noticed one when Arrow came out to put down the report about the Aguavilla, I can never say that, UAP. They were not sworn in. They were not asked any questions. They just gave a statement. Well, in my book, I hate to say it, but I dissed Arrow. We proved to them that they were lying. And it's all there. And we noticed right after that word got out, our sales went up like crazy. So I guess other scientists are looking at it too. But I'm not happy with what I see. Now, I'm also going to talk about our Canadian government. We had millions of dollars put aside for Sky Canada. And Sky Canada was supposed to put out a report. And then they were supposed to put out a report. Then they were supposed to put out the report. Guess what? They released it 4 days ago. I'm only halfway reading it, but you know what? They just said everything that we already knew they're going to say. And that is, we need to study it. We need to study it. We need to have one place people can report it to. Well, excuse me, MUFON Canada is huge. And MUFON in the world, MUFON International has got over 600 investigators now in 144 countries. How big can you get? It's over 50 years old. Not government controlled, not funded by any government or private industry. It's all funded by people like me. And the database is huge. There's over 300,000 reports in the latest database, and there's 4 databases before that, including the paper one called Mars. And that's where, Ronald Reagan put in his report. All these famous actors who had seen them and said, yeah, I've seen a UFO. They, back in the day, did handwritten reports. They're all in there. So why are we not just combining everything. Now there was a project through MUFON to combine all the databases from all the UFO groups around the world. It's called Aquarius, and it's still in progress. And actually, right now, I think we got about 2 million hits in it. Reports. People are sending them in, but it's going to be a couple more years before it's made public. And of course, you know, you do something like that, you need huge computers and stuff. So the costs are high. But I'm disappointed in Sky Canada. So Rob, Mark, if you hadn't even know that, we just put out the report. It's on CTV News, and they don't even have a downloadable PDF yet.
Well,
So you got to actually, you can go to the Canadian government website. There's no downloadable PDF of the report, and it's 35 pages long. It's not huge. I think it's 35. I don't know. I'm only halfway through it.
Representative Luna made a comment. She is coming out of one of the meetings. She's the one that's actually closest of giving it away. She said, they asked her, what did you find out? And they, of course, they're investigating the Kennedy murders, you know,
Right.
the assassination, and they're investigating Martin Luther King's murder. And so they have all this information. She said, I'll make two comments. She said, there wasn't just one shooter when Kennedy was shot. They said there was two. That's what she said. And then she said, as far as UAPs, she said, our whistleblowers, what they're telling us, the stories they're telling us, she said, these entities are interdimensional entities. She actually said that. So she admitted to some of interdimensional entities. And what does that mean to you guys? I mean, all of you. Put that out to all of you. Interdimensional instead of.
I'll go to the end and I'll tell you what I know that I can discuss. So, Rob.
Yeah, so it's funny, Dave, because we've talked about this before. You know, a lot of folks get attracted into this phenomenon because they've seen something in the sky.
Mhm.
You know, light that's behaving in a strange way. We all know, you know, satellites will just go across evenly across the sky. You know how planes flash when they're going across the sky and how they behave. But typically, people will see something that deviates out of those norms. For example, what appears to be a satellite all of a sudden comes to a stop. Well, a satellite can't come to a stop or it will fall out of the sky. So, and then it may go backwards or it may go at a right angle instantly. I mean, that thing that I saw when I was 12 years old, it reversed directions. It was going back and forth and it reversed instantaneously. Like you just can't do that with normal physics. So, you know, people, they come into this by seeing lights in the sky, but then they get into all the other aspects of this. And there are so many threads to this. And we've experienced a huge number of these threads of things right around you. Like we call it interdimensional. Like, you know, we've had things happen where we could see a policeman driving right by us, but he couldn't see us. We were flashing the lights. We were yelling at him. We were jumping up and down. We were within 10 feet of him, but he just drove as if he didn't see us. And we were warned the day before by Sixto Wells that these things can happen. So when you start opening your mind that, yes, some of this stuff might be possible, it will be given to you. Now, how is it given to you? I don't know. I just know that, you know, we have stuff happen on every single expedition. And if it doesn't happen on the expedition where we are, it happens back home with our partners and our family. But every time we go on an expedition, we have this crazy, cool, high strangeness stuff happen. We've had iPhones that had been dropped and a crack in the glass mysteriously heal a few weeks later. You know, weeks, the person putting tape on the iPhone over the crack because they didn't have time to go in and get the glass changed. And all of a sudden they peel the tape off and the glass does no longer have a crack in it. You know, we've had, and we've talked about some of this on your podcast before. We've had checks written, gone through the bank, and yet the check is still in the book. We've had vouchers been given to us on a trip, you know, by the airline to Mount Shasta, for example. The vouchers were spent on the food. It's because the flight was late, so the airline issued vouchers. Yet, and they were taken by the at the food court by the vendors who are selling the food. But yet, when we check for our boarding pass, one of our members in her purse, the vouchers mysteriously are back in her purse, unspent. So, these are just some of the things we've had. We've had, in Mark's room in Peru, he had a personal earthquake, okay, where he
Funny.
woke up to the floor buckling, going up like this, a whole crack along the floor. It was buckling. He came into, this is, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning. He came into my room, eyes the size of saucers. And he come with me. I got to show you what's happening. I grabbed my phone. I immediately hit record and I recorded it. And you can hear the sounds. The floor is buckling and there were orbs present. You've got orbs flying around. So, but only in his room. Nobody else experienced this. We've had things gone missing show up in a different country like 2, 3 years later or 2 or 3 months later. We've had, what do you call those cards? SD cards with film on them that I'd given to Mark. And moments later, he comes back out. And this is footage like from the night before while we're on an expedition. He comes out of his room moments before, as if in a different timeline, and says, "Oh, Rob, can you give me that footage from last night?" I said, "Mark, I just gave it to you." And he looks at me as if, "No, you didn't." And the SD card is gone. It's missing. So I give him the footage again and he deals with it and so on. And then we show up a couple months later in another country. And what shows up on his night table? That very SD card with the footage on it. It goes on and on and on and on.
Could
We
this be
have,
Rob, could this be a Matrix time slip that they talk about?
Oh,
we don't
stop
know.
looking at my screensaver.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
It
and
is
I
the
was gonna say,
Matrix. Of
Dave,
course,
like
it's the Matrix. Of
the
course,
name
it's
of
the
your show
Matrix.
is Strange Reality.
Yeah.
The
Mark,
name of your show, man. Look at your
Yeah.
show. It's
Mark,
Strange Reality.
yeah, it is. It is strange. Mark, you live in Peru. Do you see stuff all the time there, or do you witness things all the time there, Mark?
Oh, in Peru?
Yeah.
Oh, Peru was our, like, again, like the epicenter of so much that happened. I would say when we came here in 2016, the first time, it set the stage for us because it was very mind bending. It's like what Dave said about the Matrix. The understanding is your reality is just really not your reality. Like if you spend your time looking up in the sky hoping for a light, no, that is such a small percentage. Maybe it's why I'm so excited about Mount Shasta. If you take like-minded people and you put them in a location that is very conducive to these kind of stranger, kind of, different, this differential in terms of reality, you have that tendency to experience something, and it's not normal. Like it's not like something that's run of the mill or regular. Like it really sticks out. Like you sit there and say, okay, what is that? Like that doesn't make any sense. The only one I'll use as an example quickly was when we went to Easter Island and we went to a crater, volcanic crater. It was three of us. And at a certain moment of the morning, of a certain morning, all three of us, independent of each other, turned our cameras and focused it on the crater that we were at. Rob took a picture. I took a picture, and I don't even know why I took a photo. I never take photos. I'm a video guy. And the third person in our party did the same, all independent of each other. Didn't think anything of it. Went the entire day, the whole day. That's happened at 11 in the morning, 7 o'clock at night. Rob's reviewing footage. I'm reviewing footage. Our third member is reviewing. And we all got the same object that was in the crater. Okay. And it's definitive. Like you look at it when you see it, like when you see Rob's, especially right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you see that image, now what happened to me personally, which made it stick out, was they communicate with me, Dave, through my technology. Always through my technology. Always, always, always. They will affect my camera. They'll affect I got something on my card, on my computer. On that day on Easter Island, 300, like I had on my computer screen, I put my SD card in, 368 pictures, time stamped. Okay. There's a timestamp beside every single picture. The picture with the UFO in it, the timestamp changed, pushed itself ahead by 2 hours, and then returned to the timeline and stayed with the timeline for the rest of the pictures. So you had this timeline of 368 pictures, and only the picture of the UFO pushed itself ahead into the future by 2 hours and then returned to the present timeline in the camera on the card.
It's amazing.
It's impossible.
No,
I can't
Yeah.
even go in. You'd have to go into 7 different menus inside. I couldn't have done that even if I tried. Like I couldn't do that. And even at the time it happened, we were renting a car. I was filming. I have footage of me filming us while we're renting a car. So the point that I'm making with that story, that quick story, is whether it's Peru, whether it's Mount Shasta, whether it's any hotspot that we've ever been, watch for the signs. Like we learned that in Peru on our first trip. Watch for the signs. Just detect something that doesn't fit that doesn't fit the reality. That's a strange part of your reality because you're going to notice it. And you just got to be aware.
I think they have ETs, interdimensional beings. They have control of time.
Absolutely.
And I had an ET. I can show you pictures of it. I put it on my Facebook, and I met her in 2010, and she made a Freudian slip while she was talking to me, and she was an Asian humanoid ET. I know she was because 5 months later she come to my house in Illinois, and her with 2 sons. And my cousin and I sitting on a porch, and they come up and they dumbed us down. I couldn't even talk, and my cousin couldn't talk. So I know she's an ET. Well, this gal slipped, and she said, "When are you humans going to understand there is no time, there is no age?" I looked at her, and she backed off a little bit, like she made a slip up. She messed up. You know, it was a Freudian slip. And Professor Dave, have you heard this from anybody that you've interviewed with?
Yeah, don't get me started on that because being also a scientist, I understand the 100% the time and space differentials, and time is not a constant number. It can go forward and backwards. How the hell do you think you can bend time and space and go from point A to point B instantaneous?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't want to get into that. That's a 2 or 3 hour lecture I will give you. But yeah, I've heard of it before. And I also have had a very interesting experience at our Alien Cosmic Expo. We were having a media panel up front, and everybody's, 1,000 people in the room watching. And I'm at the back because I was one of the organizers and people running the show. And I'm sitting beside the big cameras because we were live streaming it. And just to make sure everything was going on, I had my headsets and stuff. And all of a sudden I look over and I see this big, tall, blonde, Nordic type person walking towards me. She came over, looked at me, and one question. No conversation, just one question. Who's Victor Vigiani? Now he's the MC. Everybody knows who he was. He's master of ceremonies. And I looked at her and said, "Well, he's the master of ceremonies." Not a word, turned around and walked out. And I went, "That's the strangest thing I've ever had." I turned to the guy behind me. I said, "What did you think of that lady who just came talking to me?" He goes, "What lady?"
Yeah.
I turned to the guy beside me. "What did you think of that lady just squeezed through into what lady?" 3 people independently said nobody was there. I tore off after her, and it would take at least 5 minutes to get through all the crowds and stuff to get outside. And I knew there was only one door we're letting people out. She wasn't there. She was gone.
I've had that
She was
happen
just
to
letting me
me.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was
Professor
letting me know.
Dr. David Jacobs said they walk amongst us. So they
Yes,
do.
they do. Oh, I've got more proof than that.
Yeah, I want to hear.
I'm going to
I wanna
get into
hear-
it tonight.
I want to hear your greatest story here pretty soon. Dalia, I want to get back to you. You got red lights shining on you and stuff. Is that you, or is that just your light effects?
That I think it's just the sun setting, but it is making a really pretty effect.
Okay.
Isn't that beautiful, that prison?
Yeah. Dalia, to stay on topic about time travel and Matrix, have you ever had anything happen to you since you're very, I guess, telepathic in a way? Could,
Yes, when you play with energy, especially with energy that spins, you can kind of bend time and space. So I've had many experiences with that. I can go into a lot about that, but something I did want to say about the correlation between consciousness and the ETs and UAPs is at first, my daughter told me we were going to be invited to Psy Games and to Contact. And I remember thinking, what for? What do we have to do with the UAPs? And she said we were going to be center stage. And I just remember thinking, okay, I'm waiting for the invitation then. And we did get invited about a month later. It was very interesting. And when I got there, I realized what the correlation was. It was telepathy. And that was one of the things I noticed with all of the speakers. They were saying there was a telepathic communication. And my daughter's even said that our telepathy, human to human telepathy, is becoming bigger now. We're actually a big part of that getting out there in the mainstream. We're working with universities and proving how it exists. But she said a big part of it is the UAPs assisting us in our telepathic communication. And I think that's going to be a big part of us understanding them more is when we all are becoming more telepathic. And I very much believe, especially now with all the work we're doing with these universities, that it's not going to be very long before we look back on this time and think, wow, I can't believe there was a time where people didn't know that telepathy was real, where they just thought that was just make believe. Even I thought it was kind of make believe. I believed in it, but I totally didn't understand what it was until I saw it with my daughter.
yeah.
It's extremely real. Like
I
you would think that maybe we can feel each other and we don't really read each other's thoughts. We kind of this is how I used to understand it. I used to think that I could feel someone's emotions and then I was projecting what they might have been thinking. But my daughter, I can literally think of I could think of a whole paragraph and she can write the whole thing down. So she has access to extreme detailed information from my mind and from my past and oh my gosh, with time, she actually she told me herself, like she's very impressed with us that have the capability of understanding time and have a concept of time because she has no concept of time. And she's constantly relying on me to help her with time or because she is just out there. She's out there, she's in multiple timelines, she's told me that. And she is able it's very remarkable. Whenever I go on a seminar, one of Rob's seminars or a seminar, she can tell she's there with me, but she bilocates and she can tell me things that happen that I didn't even see happen, and I can validate it. Or she can join in on a conversation I had that I'm not even thinking about and say, "Hey, when you said this to Rob, you should have said this to him, or he was thinking this," you know. So she'll actually kind of jump in. But yeah, to her, it's extremely hard to understand time because she's just out there. She's barely connected to her body, but she's very impressed that we can understand time. At least we have a concept of it. She's also very impressed that we can actually feel our body as much as we do, and that we can feel the senses without having to focus so much. We know where our legs are. We have the sense of knowing where our body parts are without having to really focus or to look for them. So she's just as impressed with us as we are with her. But anyway, going back to the UAP thing, I very much believe we're going to have a much more of a connection with them once our telepathy gets stronger as a human race. And maybe even at Shasta, our telepathy is going to grow too, because my telepathy with my daughter has been growing tremendously.
Yeah, Dr. Robert, I've had him on as a guest, and he shows these little and maybe Professor Dave, he calls them dragonflies or dragons, and they're little objects that are about this big, about an inch and a half long, and they travel about 1,200 miles an hour, and they're actually little spies. They spy for I guess the big ships. Uh, and he told me he had a friend who was a magician. I can't remember his name, and he was fantastic. If I give you his name, you can look him up on YouTube. He can guess people's social security numbers. He can guess how much money they got on them. He can actually tell you the serial number of the dollar bill that you got in your pocket. And he has to be, and Dr. Robert told me that he has to be ET, and he knows he's ET. You know, he walked among us, and he did a lot of stuff that was really, really intriguing. But he said that he cannot use telepathic talents unless he closes his eyes. There's a young lady at the gym that I go to. She's very weird. She kind of acts like she doesn't talk to nobody. She doesn't relate to anybody. And she walks past me and she closes her eyes when she walks past me. And I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm saying ET, ET. You're supposed to say ET when you see one of these humanoid ETs. And if they look or if they turn around, they're hearing you. So I say that to her. But so now she walks by me, closes her eyes, and she's at a machine and she closes her eyes. And like I said, she talks to nobody. I'm afraid to go up to her. Her energy is kind of weird, you know. And I don't know, the Professor Dave, have you ran into that? Anybody run into
That's
that?
that's the one you want to go up to. And by the way, when you walk by, somebody closes their eyes like that, you don't say anything. You think it hard.
Yeah, yeah.
You're ET.
Hmm.
You'd be surprised suddenly they'll open their eyes. And why would they suddenly open their eyes and look at you? You didn't say it out loud. Try that next time.
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, I want to do that. But I did.
Telepathy is definitely one of the. I've always been thinking that we are being helped along. Thank you, Dahlia. You brought it up that the only way they communicate is by telepathy, and we need to learn. And that's why they're not landing on the White House lawn. I hate that because we're not ready. And it could be 100 years from now. It could be 1,000 years from now. Come on, anybody that's here from another world, another planet, another timeline, another dimension, a parallel universe, they have some technology to do it, so they're well in advance. And that's talking about technology wise. If they're just projecting themselves, that too is well advanced in thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of years in advance. So I'm glad Dahlia brought that up because that's something I haven't even talked to Rob or Mark about trying to pursue that. But I think that's where we need to go in order to be able to truly communicate with non-human intelligence. And I'll use the NHI, the military version of the word, not ET.
Right. I think there's actually ETs. You know, this story back in 52 or 53. What was this guy's name? He was from Venus. He had some kind of a storybook name. What was it? Icon or Icor or and he was supposed to have been an ET from Venus, and he was at Washington D.C. and he talked to Eisenhower and the rest of them. Trying to think of
I
his.
know what you're talking about, I don't know his name. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
But there's ETs in our government and around the world. They're
Sure.
amongst us. They're working with us. Matter of fact, they're probably controlling the world. And you guys, Mark and Rob, you've been to a lot of countries. Now, did you get the impression from them that they more ahead of us and like Professor Dave saying telepathic powers and things of that nature? Do they believe more than we do? Are they more conscious than we are? That's to both of you, Mark and Rob.
Are you talking about other countries,
Yes, other
other
countries.
people?
Yeah.
Well, I do know, Mark, remember several years back when we were in Peru and you interviewed the guy at the condo we had rented who was the head of an investigation agency for the government. And you actually turned to him and said, like he was spilling the beans on everything
Everything.
that they would never say in the States or Canada, like government people. And I think you asked him, sir, why are you telling all these secrets to us? And he looked straight at Mark and he said, why wouldn't I tell you?
Yeah. He said, "Come on down to the office." He said, "I've got a file folder." I'll never forget that moment. He even said it just like that. He said, "Really? They don't do that in North America?" And I said, "No, it's a great big. It's everything's a great big conspiracy." And he's like, "No, I'll bring you right down to my office right now and take the files out of my desk and show them to you." But that's South America.
Mm.
Like to me, South America, North America, they're so opposite in terms
Different
of
worlds, different worlds.
different world, man. Like it is like it's polar opposite in terms of like you talk to somebody in Peru, it's like there's not anybody that you can't talk to in South America. Like you can be in the back of a taxi cab and the taxi cab driver will start talking to you about something he saw fly over his house. And it's not strange. It's not like, oh, I can't talk about it because my neighbors will think I'm crazy, or because the neighbors saw it too. Like there's no differentiation. It's only in North America where it's like I can't talk about it. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to be called crazy. I'm going to be told that I need to be quiet. Professor Dave would know a lot about this too, because it makes people, I don't know, too self-conscious. They don't want to be ridiculed.
Yeah, when I was in Alaska, they believed a lot more than they did down in the lower 48. And when I was in the Philippines, they didn't believe. I'd start talking to them about UFOs, and they say, "What are those?" So they didn't pay no mind to. Philippines doesn't pay any mind to this thing. They're not open to. But in Alaska, they do, because it's wild and they see things a lot up there. I didn't see much of anything for 2 years while I was up there, but that's about. But I don't know what else to say about Alaska. It's just wild and crazy. There's no doubt. Professor Dave, you around the world, I guess, what countries, through your research, are actually going to come around first about the understanding with UAPs and ETs, Professor?
Before the U.S., you mean?
Yes,
France?
France.
Brazil won't be high on the list. They're climbing up. Countries like Peru, a lot of South American companies will come first. France, Great Britain, Italy's come along, starting to push out some stuff, and Canada will be up there, but the U.S. will be at the bottom of the list. So
I
you're going to see full disclosure coming out from everywhere, it's like a snowball effect, except the U.S.
Mm.
It's all about control. It's all about fear and fear mongering and false flags they love putting up. And I won't even get into that tonight, but I don't think US will be the first person to disclose. And I'm trying to encourage actually Canada to do so. We're working on that with a gentleman up here. We have the Citizens for Disclosure movement up here in Canada too. And that's being run by Victor Vigiani, good friend of ours, the same guy who was the MC, right? He MC'd we had him MC all our Alien Cosmic Expos. They were big deals too until COVID shut it down. But yeah,
what
U.S. Sorry, you're last.
while you're talking there, Professor Dave, I wanted to ask you about. I know I'm taking us back to December and January, the drone phenomena in New York, New Jersey, and around the country. I heard that half of them were commercial drones, the other half were actual ET drones or craft, orbs, and then plasmoids.
Well,
What do you know about that, Professor Dave?
we actually went down there, Rob and I, and another
Hey, good.
videographer, and we only saw one thing, and we didn't catch it. And that's where we're all on the top of we rented this beautiful B&B that I found had a fourth story rooftop patio. So we had a beautiful view looking north, so we could see the bay on the west and the ocean on the east. And we were shooting north because that's where they're supposedly coming through. So we were on the where were we? Jersey Shores, and we were sitting there, and all of a sudden I went, "Wow!" This thing went right across, but our cameras were pointed higher. I know everybody reacted because I shouted, but it was too late. We didn't see any of these supposedly drones, and it was just near the end of where supposedly the FAA shut down the skies. But we have friends down there. I had some people who we invited over. They actually came over to see what we were doing, and they've been monitoring for a while. The one guy lives in New Jersey, and they had seen some interesting things. Now, we have drones the size of school buses. Yeah, they're called military, um, but were they ours? Were they not ours? It's a mixture, and I think there was something going on so that the NHI pilots or whatever were testing us. Well, there was some other things going on, and it could have been a correlation, or it could have been a cooperation along with the U.S. military, because there was some there were some real drones that the military, there was other type of drones, people that had their own little drones that they were putting up, they were too small.
Mm.
Nobody owns drones the size of an SUV. There was a lot of the people saying, "Look at this picture; it's the size of an SUV." Well, that's either military or it's ET.
Yeah.
So there might have been something going on that we will never know about. That there was a collaboration of, let's see what happens. Let's see how the public react. Are we ready? And yeah, we are ready for full disclosure, by the way. It's not the 50s anymore.
Well, you know,
So
Trump come in saying that he's going to disclose everything, and he said the very same thing that Biden said. He said they're FAA approved, they're commercial
yeah,
drones, a lot of them, and he says they're not our enemy. So that's what he said. Biden said the same thing, so did Trump. So I said,
right.
we're not getting anywhere. We're not getting anywhere. You know?
No, you're not. It's all smoke and mirrors and deniability.
Rob,
And
did
he'll
you,
never release the files.
Rob, did you see anything while you was there? Also, I mean,
Yeah, I saw that one that Dave pointed out.
Yeah.
The problem with all my equipment is, you can have it actually filming, but you got to be pointing in the right direction. Or if you've got something moving slow, then I can move it on the tripod and capture it. But when something just zing goes right across like that, there's no time.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark and I, we were on Vancouver Island when I had all my equipment running, and we had what we called the flasher. It was this thing that came within 30 feet of us, and we all saw it except one guy was looking in a different direction. But it was strobing, like it was flashing. Would you say like 10 times a second or something like that, Mark?
Yeah, it was like fluttering. It was like
They're fluttering, yeah.
it's like it was taking pictures of us.
Yeah, it came down within about 30 feet of us, and it lasted maybe 4 seconds,
4 or 5
5 seconds.
seconds. Yeah.
And, I ran over to my cameras to turn them around to get it. But by that time it was gone. And one of the other guys actually caught it in his camera. And by the time he reached to press record, boom, it was gone. But we saw it with our eyes.
mhm. Well, yeah,
And yeah,
we're
so
moving up on an hour and a half. So what I want to do is get each one of you to tell me your best and most scariest adventure that you've had, and things that scared you or things that you really was shocked and awed about. I guess we can start with Professor Dave. You had something you said you wanted to say towards the end.
Well, you brought up something about the little dragonflies,
Mm.
as being, are they U.S. military spies? Are they ET spies? We caught one. Rob and Mark have never seen this. Out in Alberta, Canada. Fly by a person who was out just with their nice little drone taking pictures of autumn leaves. When I analyzed it, it flew by at Mach 12 and it was still accelerating.
Mm.
About 4 weeks later, they caught one down in the US flying by another drone at Mach 17. We can't do that.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that's US military stuff. Now, the one that I had, we did a huge analysis on it. We figured it was about 2 feet across. We don't know how long it was because it's going so fast. It's a blur through all the shutters. But it travels 600 meters in like not even half a second, 6 frames of a 60 frame per second shot. It was moving at Mach 12. The one in the States, they said, was moving Mach 17, but we caught one picture of it and I analyzed it and it was identical to the one we got in Alberta.
Mm.
Same shape, same size. That's proof.
Yeah,
That is proof.
you might want to look up Dr. Robert Shipe,
Mhm.
SCHIEPE, and look
Yeah,
him up with the dragons and the drones. Uh,
I'll look that up.
he's got
So
bunches of film of it. Really,
that's amazing. So yeah, so um anyways, that was amazing to see stuff like that. So what can I say? Like we don't know what we're seeing, where they're coming from. I mean, everybody knows it's four possibilities. They're actually flying through outer space to get to us. And again, then you're just warping time and space and they can do it instantaneously, but you still need warp drive to do it. And that's why we wrote the book on warp propulsion, on how these things are moving. Even in our own atmosphere, you still need warp propulsion, otherwise you'll crash to the Earth.
well, these
We
little
also have
things,
a theory of why they did crash in Roswell.
yeah, these little things had plasma shooting out the sides of it. That actually,
Oh,
he slowed the camera down. He invented
yeah.
a camera that can do this, and plasma shoots out around them to guide them and speed them on or forward. But they also hang around telephone lines to get electrical charge, and that's the charging of their plasma. And that's what
Well,
Dr. Robert Shipe found out.
the best energy source in the universe is all the suns. You just stay in a corona and suck in all the energy. And that's a known theory, but we've proven that, by the way. So I was just saying, though, where are they coming from? Like either they're traveling through the universe, they're time traveling. That's a possibility, coming back and forth. And again, time is not a fixed linear line; it's fluid. It can go backwards and forward, and you can prove that to yourself. What do you think deja vu is?
Yeah, I've had a lot of that.
A glitch in the matrix. You either went just that split millisecond, but your brain registered as maybe being, I did this, and it was 5 minutes long. Well, it wasn't. So again, it's deja vu. That's time travel. Obviously, parallel universes, and that's been proven now. In Einstein's theory was totally proven, and so was Einstein rings. And the last one is other dimensions. There's 21 known dimensions in our universe. We only know of four, and the fourth is a joke. So you've got X, Y, and Z, and time. Time is not a dimension.
Right.
And then there's more, and they know there's 21 different types of dimensions. If you look up the dimensions, you'll see the first 11 you can understand. The rest of them, you got to have a PhD science brain to figure it all out.
And then they come here through wormholes and portals, right?
But that's just a way of traveling through outer space and stuff. And that's like, are they coming from outer space? Yeah, wormholes and portals. Rob caught an incredible one, and he showed me a picture of I don't know, forget where you were, Heston Light area, and you show that picture. It's like a shutter speed for a second, and it's all square. That is the opening of a portal because
let me
the
just
shutter
find
speed.
that. I mean,
Yeah, where was that, Mark?
That
Do you
was
remember?
that was Peru, Cusco, Peru. Now we've shown
Oh,
this one
that's
before,
it.
Dave.
There it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a pretty neat.
That's an
Okay.
opening of a portal.
And look at the detail
Yeah.
on that.
Mhm.
Okay. And Lou, I showed it to Lou at a conference, and he said that that's not the actual craft. He said that's the disturbance in the atmosphere that it
That's right.
left as it was changing dimensions. Like, in
Yep.
other words, it excites the molecules of air with the energy, and it left an imprint in the atmosphere.
Yeah, I told you
So,
that's the opening or closing of a
yeah,
portal of some sort. Not a worm.
yeah.
Can we trust Louis Elizondo anymore?
Don't
Wormhole
know.
scientists have proven. I round hate to say it.
Don't know.
What's that, Dave?
He plays both sides of the coin, I think.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. Now, Dave, I was going to say before we run out of time, and maybe we can take a break from the other stuff. Dalia is here tonight to
Yes.
demonstrate the seeing
Yeah.
blindfolded.
That's
Should
what
we take
Got some good
I
stuff
was
for
going to
it.
go to her next. Yes.
take a few minutes to do that now, or would you like to do that a little bit later?
Oh, we can do it. Take a few minutes.
Okay, so Dalia, did you want to try with patches on as well? How
Sure,
did you
I'll
want to
try.
demonstrate tonight? Okay.
Yeah,
She floored me last time because Rob put me on spot, and he says,
yeah, I
"Hey,
wasn't sure if
hold
I
up some
was
stuff."
finished today, so let's see. Sometimes the patches,
There's the
usually
secret.
most of the time, I see
There's
pretty good
there's
patches.
the secret of telepathic skills to shut the eyes off. Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Oh yeah, she has to do that.
Yeah.
Make it easier.
Okay.
And you don't need patches on, but quite often in the seminars, we'll bring the patches out in the last 2 or 3 days. And in the next seminar, we're actually going to bring the sheet out, which will cover the mask also, so that the participants can prove to themselves that they're not somehow cheating.
Right.
Because when they start seeing through the mask, we'll have participants ask for a new mask. They'll think that there's like pinholes in the plastic of the mask, which there aren't. But that's the appearance that it gives when you start seeing through the mask, Dave.
Okay.
So how do you feel at the moment, Dalia?
Okay.
Okay, so let's just start by some colors. I've got some colors here. What would you say that is, Dalia?
That's pink.
Okay, what about this one?
And that's yellow.
Okay, what about this one?
That's yellow again.
Okay, and that one?
Blue.
Okay, let's go to something a little bit harder. What about some symbols? What have we
Okay.
got there?
That's a triangle.
Open or
Triangle.
closed?
Open.
Okay. What have we got there?
That's a closed plus.
Okay, and what about there?
And that is a closed circle.
Okay, how about we ramp it up a bit? Why don't we tell me how many dot or dots and the color of the dice?
That is a yellow 2.
Okay. What about that
Oh,
one?
and a yellow 6.
Okay. And what about that?
And that is a red 4.
Okay. Well, let's ramp it up a little bit more. How about letters?
Okay.
We'll just, there's a letter in your screen.
That is an F.
Okay. And let's get the F out of there. How about that one?
Get the F out of there. That's an S.
Okay.
Funny,
And
Rob.
that's an L.
Okay. Well, it's apparent you can see letters. So let's put a few more in your screen. Let's
Oh,
go for broke. What about that one?
that's children.
Okay.
And that's some.
Okay. And what about that one?
From.
Okay. And let's take some picture cards. Maybe you can tell me what's on these pictures.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. What is that, Dalia?
That is a wagon, a red wagon.
Okay. And what have we got here?
And that is a phone, a cell phone.
Okay. And what about, let's try something else. What about this?
And that is, what is that? An umbrella, a red umbrella.
Okay. And maybe one more here. How about this one?
And that is a cow.
Okay. And Dave, have you got something to hold up? Something nice and big or colorful to show
Professor
Dalia?
Dave or me?
Well, you did it last time, Professor Dave. What about
Yeah.
I'm holding
Dave
something
Emmons?
up. Delia, I'm holding something up.
You're holding a red pen.
Oh,
Okay. Mark, what have you got that you can hold up?
That is a mug that says Mark on it and it has an M on it.
Wow.
Okay. Professor Dave, what have you got?
Wow.
What is that? A paper towel roll and a one piece.
Right on.
Okay, now Dalia, lift your mask up and show that you've got your patches on
Yep.
and they're sealed all the way around.
Yep.
Yeah.
amazing. That's 100%. You don't normally
Yeah.
get that anywhere. 100%.
And Dalia can put more, we won't do it tonight, but Dalia, say some of the stuff you've done just fooling around at home and practicing, like other layers that you've put in front of your
Yeah,
eyes.
so I don't have it down here, but well, yeah, I do put multiple layers, like I've had 5 layers over my eyes before. But we're actually working with Alex Gomez, and we actually have a mask, what we call the welding mask. And it's a mask that has a cardboard piece of black paper in the front that goes all the way down. It's also on the sides and also on the back, also over the head. And so I've been able to see through that as well. That's the one I'm training with currently.
That is
Wow.
amazing, Delia. I've never seen anything 100%.
And
Other
Yeah,
times
and it
it's 50.
surprises me too, because my daughter is 100% with her telepathy. You would think maybe 25% or something, but
Yeah.
she's 100%. So
Oh, that's amazing. I'm glad
and
we.
so And
I'll,
so, Dave, this is what we're going to be teaching at the Mount Shasta event. And Dahlia will be there to help folks. I'll be there. Marcus will be there. Dave will be there. And the other facilitators will be there. And we're going to go progressively through the week. We'll be teaching telekinesis and mindsight, starting off with intuitive mindsight, where you get, very vague images of color, numbers, letters, symbols, and then we'll progress to the seeing in real time mindset, exactly what Dahlia showed you tonight.
I can tell, Delia, you have energy in your eyes. I picked that up. I can pick up energy from people and non-entities actually, and but you have that energy that just flashes. It's there.
that's interesting that you say that, because yesterday a stranger stopped me and said, "Hey, can I look in your eyes for a few seconds?" And he just kind of, I said, "Okay, that was weird, but I'll do it." And he just stared for 3 or 4 seconds, and he goes, "Thank you so much." And that was yesterday.
You have energy just exuding from your eyes. It's just
Look at her wall, her prism, her aura has a heart in it.
yeah.
Well, that's true. You see on your wall behind you there, Dahlia, turn to your right. Look
Turn and look
behind.
at the prism. There's a heart in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't actually have a prism in here, but I'm assuming it's
The window.
correlated to the sun and my windows in some way.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's not a light that you're putting up. That's something supernatural that's on the wall.
Well, I don't know if I would call it supernatural, but it's definitely not a prism I have or a light. There's no light in here that's causing that.
Oh,
It's the way the sun is reflecting through her window.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've seen that before, but it's fading now in the middle because it's getting dull. But there was a perfect heart middle.
And it's pretty cool.
Um,
I mean, we've been watching it all night here,
yeah,
Dahlia, and it's had sort of different shapes and very beautiful prism colors there. So
and it's
that's
moving like the sun is setting. It's moving up,
mhm. Yeah.
right? So you've got something on your window, some film on your window, or even some dirt and dust can cause that.
was pretty
Causes the
cool.
prism effect.
Pretty cool. I like it.
And look, it's almost faded out now because the sun's
Mhm.
going.
Now,
Yeah.
do you guys have anything last to say? Because we're getting a little long in the tooth here. So,
Just personally, just extremely excited. Thank you, Dave, very much for having us on your program. Very excited for what is really for, I mean, Rob and I have been talking about it for a long time, but it's kind of it's a mega event, you know, and I hate to sound like that's promotional. It's beyond just the event. It's an experience. I mean, you're getting the chance to have this blending of all the worlds when it comes to UFOs, UAPs, mind sight, telekinesis, you know, in this beautiful location with a lot of beautiful people. So, if anyone's thinking about it that watches your show, they should definitely get in contact because it's the first of its kind. I'm excited to film it because it's to me it's historic. It has an historic kind of component to it because it's the first time all these people have been brought together to do all of this and to just to take consciousness and all the experiences to another level. So that's all I'd like to say.
right. And so this is kind of open that people can join you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we still have a few spots left, and people can just go to visionwithouteyes.com and they can read about the Shasta event in the drop-down boxes, and then just click below that where it says register here.
Yeah, I'll put
And
that in a narrative. And I don't know how I'm going to fill all this narrative on all you guys that you've done a tremendous job. And Mark, believe me, I learned something from this and I loved the show myself. I mean, I'm glad you guys came here. And the cherry on top of the cake here with Dahlia with reading that 100% for findings. Oh my God, thrilling. It's great, great. And Professor Dave, I like you too because you talk my talk a lot of times, and I know you're very experienced and more technical than I am. So I appreciate that. And
If I can help you out any other way, give me a call. I'll happy to come on your show and talk about a million different things.
okay, great. I'll do that. That's I guess send Rob. Well, Rob's got your information. I'll get
Oh
that.
yeah.
I now
sure.
Yeah, and this organization, CMEX, Professor Dave, I'm getting involved in that. They sound like they have a worldwide thing going on. So there are a lot of scientists involved in this group.
Good.
So it's something they're going to push this disclosure, whether the government will likes it or not, I guess. But I'm
Good
going
to
to
hear that.
yeah, I'm going to be a part of it. I was picked out of LinkedIn. Dr. Federico saw my videos. I put my videos on LinkedIn, and I write books, of course. I got books, but that's why I'm going to be teaching some of this stuff. I don't know what the class curriculum is going to be. They're going to send it to me, but I'm interested in getting the word out, just like you guys, enlightening people. You know, there's not a whole lot of money in UFO books or doing podcasts, so it's enlightening people, and you gotta enjoy doing that and helping people out. And people write me all the time and ask me questions, and so I don't have all the answers, and none of us really do. But my God, it's a mysterious world, strange reality. So I want to thank you, Rob, Mark, Delia, Professor Dave. Thanks so much for being on the show, and I guess we'll go ahead and close out. And I want everybody to see the show. This is a great show, and thanks to everybody on this panel. Good
Thank
night.
you so